What up, guys? It's time for an epic discussion video. You already know. So yeah, switch up the intro a little bit. Just playing with some new things. Also got a new light. But what we have is a discussion video. A Bakugan discussion video. Man, it's been a little bit since I've done one of these, but obviously been caught up with things big time. So yeah. But anyways, let's get into it. I guess first things first. Anybody doesn't know. Still absolutely shook about it, but I got invited to the Invitational, the third annual Invitational. Just totally hyped about it. It's the third year I've been invited to it, and just totally blessed and honored for that. So all three Invitationals I would have been a part of. You know, the first two I was a part of, and you guys saw how much I filmed for those. So you know, the third one gonna do the same thing, except this one's virtual. So yeah, but we'll figure out things. You know, I'm gonna film as much as I can, let you guys know as much as I can about what's gonna be happening with it. But I'm very hyped and totally honored about this. And again, thank you so much, Spin Master, for this opportunity. Absolutely, totally blessed. So yeah, just like I said, the fact that they even found a kid from, you know, well, now the country, you know, the woods of the country, like they found me, is absolutely just amazing and literally miraculous thing. And just again, thank you so much for this opportunity. But yeah, now let's just get into a big time discussion video. So like I said, it's been a little bit since I've really talked about, like, you know, like had a discussion video for Bakugan, maybe just because, like, you know, things have been caught up, and just waiting for the next episodes to come out. So yeah, but we've gotten the latest episodes, man. So that being episodes 30 through 35, you know, or technically like episodes 60 to 70, you know, because they do like 11-minute episodes, with then just putting them together in the time spot fills up the 22-minute or 30-minute time spot with all the commercials and stuff, you know. But they mainly show it on Cartoon Network. But getting into it, man, we got some more development for the show. So obviously, the way things left off before was the Bakugan Battle League. After the Bakugan Battle League ending, you know, all the craziness happening with like a G, like, you know, being figured out as being the Phantom Thief. Also, like Storm turning on a G, sort of a G turning a new wing. All that good stuff. And then the new Battle League happening in Tokyo. So they're having another Bakugan Battle League in Tokyo, Japan. They had Dan as like the main spokesperson because he won the first one. Then having the crazy plot twist with this one, that being Dan actually losing during it. And then not only did Dan lose during it, Ajit also lost. But Ajit lost on purpose so he can go and find Dan. And then it was figured out that, like, Ajit figured it out that he traveled to find Dan, and he saw that, like, the Brawlers were supposed to be put on a ship, like a cruise ship, to enjoy the rest of the time, when in reality they're being put in pods on a different ship. So Ajit got defeated. He went past that ship, the drone. Took him past that ship, and then it took him to another ship. It's like a cargo ship where they had all of the Brawlers and basically like pickled them all and had them sleeping. And Ajit figured that out because he managed to take out one of the mechanoids, the main mechanoid, because the main mechanoid would make the Brawler go to sleep as soon as they land on this ship, and then they'd be put into like the jar. But Ajit figured it out, and he held his breath and then like pretended he was asleep. And then when he got inside, he rolled out Farrell, and Farrell beat it. And then, like, you know, he was going around and trying to free the Brawlers and figure things out, like, figure out what's going on. That's where he saw all the Brawlers being pickled, and then that, including Dan and Drago. So he freed Dan, and then they had to go and find Drago. And then during that, while Dan was, like, sneaking around, Ajit was facing Storm, I think. He was facing Storm, and then Dan was going looking, and then Dan actually found Magnus, because Magnus actually knew about Havoc's plan. The big time plan for the Battle League. And then we got the build up, and then Magnus going back, and then the battle between Magnus and Storm taking place. And that's where it left off, the beginning part. But now we get the addition to that with these episodes. So during the Bakugan Battle League, so Dan, Ajit, Magnus, they're all still on that ship fighting Storm and you know, his fusion Bakugan like Hydroid Crack Kalios. But at the same time, the awesome Brawlers that are left are trying to win the actual Invitational. Well, not the Invitational, the Battle League. Jeepers. Invitational. But yeah, the Battle League. They're trying to win the actual Battle League. And It's kind of crazy because they make it towards the end, except the Rowdy Reds. They actually made the Rowdy Reds, like the Reds came back and they got stronger and they kind of cheated in the first one, but then the second one they actually did their homework on the Brawlers to try and beat them, but the Brawlers ended up winning and they got taken off the ship. But I love that they made it where the Rowdy Reds, literally the kids at the very beginning of the series, like Battle Planet, they made them get more development and they become this strong to where they're even putting up a good fight against the Awesome Brawlers, which is really, really cool. I love that development, and it's not like they're casting these characters aside or anything. Oh, no. They're making it where these characters are actually getting stronger, even the Rowdy Reds, and I really enjoyed seeing that for sure. And then right before the Brawlers crossed the finish line, because they had some time where they had to cross the finish line, they had to beat a bunch of Mechanoids. And then they beat the Mechanoids and just barely made it through the finish line. So at the same time, the actual announcer for it kind of got kidnapped a little bit. Like Masato got kidnapped originally, and Havoc disguised himself as Masato, who was sitting right next to Benton. During it. And then, like, after that, he's like, I don't need Masato anymore, and then he had Masato pickled. And he was actually the announcer. He decided to transform into the announcer. So Havoc's the actual announcer for the Battle League as it goes along. And then, at the end of this, the Brawlers make it to the final stage. So at this point, it's like Leah, Winton, Shun, and Lightning are all the only ones left. But also, Marco and then the Rocker Brawlers, the two Rocker Brawlers, that were kind of with, not so much with Marco, but, the Rocker Brawlers you saw before, the Punk Brawlers, Baku Punk Brawlers, whatever you want to call them, they actually made it to the final. And Marco did too, and it shows how strong, like, even Marco is. Even though I didn't like him that much as a character, he did have some character development, and the fact that he made it to the final shows how strong they all were. Because that wasn't easy. But in the very final, snapped his fingers. The announcer snapped his fingers, and obviously the announcer's Havoc. And then there's 3 ninjas that show up, and they're brawling against like the Awesome Brawlers and then Marco and his friends. But Marco and his friends got whooped. Marco and the Punk Brawlers got whooped literally with the first Bakugan, and then they didn't have enough time because they dropped the Bakugan, and then they ran out of time for the time limit, and then it was down to the Brawlers and them. And the development for this is the point where things got really, really crazy with this, because Havoc's plan started coming together. Havoc was always one step ahead of the Brawlers with everything, man, with everything. So even on this ship, Magnus knew that Havoc had a plan to destroy Tokyo. And that's what he told Dan. So as they were brawling against Storm was like, obviously there's Sophie, I forgot his name. Sophie, the other guy, Everett, and Storm. I forgot the third guy's name off the top of my head. But they all had a plan. Those 3 were there, and Storm was dealing with Dan and G, all of them on the ship. And then, this is where it gets crazy. They managed to take out, I think they took out Hydronoid Krakelios and started winning, but it was a big-time dogfight with it. And they actually did some damage to the actual cargo ship. So the Brawlers actually kind of won the league. They kind of won the league because they beat the ninjas. The ninjas ended up being like Everett, Sophie, and the other guy, and ended up beating them. And right after that, that's where the announcer, aka Havoc, was like, congratulations, Brawlers, you gave me all the energy I needed. And then the true devastation begins, and it all gets explained. So obviously all the Brawlers being like pickled in the jars and such, they're on the ship trying to stop them, but Storm's like, you're too late. Told them, you're too late. Our plans already come to fruition. So all 3 of the ninjas, aka Sophie and Everett, and the other guy, they all vanish, because at this point Havoc reveals his true plan. He also uses power snaps and then like sends Benton right into the wall through the glass, which was pretty wild to see, honestly. It shows Havoc's the true evil of this season, hands down. And it was a question if he was or not. Nah, there ain't no question in it now. He definitely is. And that explains his true plan to destroy Tokyo. So Magnus being right. And the plan being was that with all of the brawls that happened during you know, the tournament, during the Battle League. He had a generator, and he actually had it like deep down, a generator. And he was taking all of the power from all those brawls, whether it was the Awesome Brawlers, literally anybody who battled in that, and took that power and stored it. And then he took all of that power and concentrated it and sent it to the ship. The ship in which all of the Bakugan really were on, because they were all gone at first, but then they went to another ship. And the other ship was where all of the Bakugan were. And that's where they got sent to. He took all of that power and used it to do mind control on all of them. So his mind control power, except he amplified it and used his generator in order to make it where every single brawler's Bakugan, every brawler who lost during the Battle League and their Bakugan got taken down and weren't saved, got brainwashed. And we're all headed to Tokyo, and he was going to destroy the capital city of Tokyo with all of them. So at this point, like, they bust open, you know, the ship, and then you see, like, Magnus, like, fly up. It was mainly Magnus at first, and just fighting him off with Nilius and Enoch, because Magnus is a badass, and he's freaking awesome. And then, like, the other brawlers, like, joining up with him, you know, because they figured out, like, you know, Benton was like, well, Benton and Winton actually went to go fix the generator, you know, well, to stop it and shut it off. And then Havoc's like, well, it doesn't matter if they shut off the generator. If they shut it off, I have enough power anyways. You know, with all the Bakugan, so they could destroy Tokyo anyways, even without the generator. And then they go all help in the fight. And then Dan and Ajit, you know, they join in the fight as well. So everybody's joining in the fight, trying to stop all of the Bakugan and such. But Dan and Ajit were trying to free all of the brawlers. And by doing that, because the way that it is that Havoc actually made it where while they were sleeping, it might look like they were just pickled in the pot or such. But when they were sleeping, he actually had it where he manipulated their minds, their brain waves. So he literally has the Kazarina effect, like Kazarina power, where he can completely manipulate their brain waves even when they're sleeping and have control over all the Bakugan. That's how he had control. So Dan and Ajit figured out that, like, if they wake up all the brawlers and free them, then they'll stop all those Bakugan. So then again, they're sitting there, they're working on that, and then they managed to, like, take out Storm, and they actually managed to do so. They managed to free all the brawlers from the control of Havoc. And they all woke up. Once they all woke up, all the Bakugan literally just started sleeping. Like, you know, they all went back to their ball forms. But they also dropped in the water. Magnus also dropped in the water. And Dan went down in a brawl too. And he dropped in the water. But Magnus actually saved Dan. Dan doesn't know it. But, like, Magnus saved him and put him on a piece of water. No, not a piece of water. On a piece of like the cargo ship, like a piece of metal that was out, like some Titanic crap. And then he was just laying on that, and then Halcor Ramparian showed up, and I think Lightning was with them, and then got Dan. But then all of the brawlers, you know, like all the brawlers were fighting, and then all the Bakugan just start going back into their ball forms, and Dan tells Havoc, you've lost, you know, like, we managed to stop you. All the Bakugan are going back in their ball forms. And then Havoc's like, ooh, oh man, you've foiled my plans. Oh man, this is awful. And then does the full turn and just like, isn't that what you wanted me to say? Plot twist. I had another plan. Brawlers. And this plan being that Havoc actually made the whole dang cargo ship into a giant mechanoid. So not only did these Bakugan, it's like the Bakugan got a little bit of the power to destroy Tokyo, but in the event that they actually went down, they had it where the ship itself became a giant mechanoid and took that power and will destroy Tokyo itself. So then all these brawlers had to go and face off against this giant mechanoid, which they do, and they end up beating it and, like, you know, taking it down. And then after that, Havoc and Storm are actually on, like, a lifeboat. So the brawlers actually did catch up to all their plans and stop their plans at this current point. The key words, at this current point. It feels like this is just the first part of this arc, and then, like, the true devastation is going to happen later. But this got kind of dark with this, you know, like manipulating brawlers, Bakugan to that point, and having them all pickled, even when they're pickled, using their minds against them. Like, that's some deep rooted stuff that Havoc's doing right now. But obviously he failed with this because the Brawlers managed to stop him. And then Havoc and Storm are out on a ship, and then Havoc's like, this is the first time in 100 years. What is this feeling? I feel so upset, so mad. So they actually made Havoc mad and angry because Havoc was just playing around the entire time at first, even being maniacal. But now he's pissed. He's PO'd. And this plan is going to be even more devastating. He's not going to be playing around whatsoever now, because now he's going to be doing it out of malice. The entertainer, the greatest entertainer in the universe, is going to be doing it out of malice now and anger. So it's about to get really, really dark with this part of the season. But after that, they actually kind of continued the Battle League, but then they all said, oh, we can't battle anymore. That being like, the ones that were left. Winton, Lightning, Leah, and Shun being the 4 left. And then they actually had a ceremony with everybody who got saved. They got their Bakugan. Magnus actually got all their Bakugan to save them because, when he landed in the water, he went around and just saved all their Bakugan. That was definitely his plan because he knew that the Brawlers could probably take care of it. And sure enough, they did. And then after that, all 4 of them were crowned the champion. So all the Brawlers have won, honestly, Battle Leagues. Dan won the very first one, and then the second one got won by, literally a joint tie between Winton, Leah, Shun, and Lightning. So all 5 of the Brawlers have won at this point, well, besides Ajit. But Ajit, he's definitely starting to become an actual brawler, and man, I can't wait to see it where he's a full-fledged brawler, because it's kind of hinted at, but they haven't fully confirmed that he's a full-out brawler right now. It's like he is with them and he's growing, but he's not a full-fledged brawler yet. But it only makes sense because obviously there's 6 factions. You got brawlers for 5 of the factions. The only one missing is Arliss. Come on, Ajit. Add Ajit to that. And yeah, man, and I hope they do, because Spin Master, I want to see some Ajit cards, like an Ajit hero card, some more cards with Ajit's artwork on it, with Pharaoh's artwork on it, and some more Arliss cards in the game, because I love Arliss a lot. I mean, you guys already know I got the tat. right there. I do have the Pyrus and Darkest ones too, so, Pyrus, Darkest, but yeah, love Arliss, and definitely want to see some more stuff added with Arliss. So that was the full-out, crazy arc with Havoc and such. I guess the second Battle League Havoc arc, and then after that, getting a few fun episodes. So after that, it was where Benton wanted Ajit to stay with Dan and his family so he can start living a normal life. Now the stuff's over with Storm, so he can live a normal life. And then they had it where Dan was sleepwalking, and then Ajit was trying to stop him, and then Dan was snoring also, and Ajit's like, what the hell am I supposed to sleep with this? And then, Dan started sleepwalking, and then sleep rolling out his Bakugan, so sleep rolling out Drago, and Drago sleeping, and then he's like, this isn't good. So then they decided to have Ajit go into his dream, and Dan was, of course, a superstar and such, and then Ajit went in and messed up his dream, and, Dan was bald and stuff, the worst things, in a dream, oh, God, I'm bald, or I have no teeth, or, my eyebrows got cut, or my beard, or stuff like that, or I'm naked in front of a class, in front of everybody, those kinds of dreams. And then, after that, they stopped, the sleeping, the sleepwalking of Dan, pretty much. And then after that, there's another episode where, let me see. Oh, yeah, Ajit was a babysitter. And he was babysitting with Winton, and he babysat a little kid. I forgot the kid's name right off the top of my head, but they babysat him, and the kid actually found a Bakugan. He found Aventus Krakelios, and actually is kind of a genius brawler and figured out how to use it. This young little kid. So definitely could see him coming back in some future brawls. That'll be really, really cool, because he's such a genius brawler, learning that much, and he's just a young little kid. So yeah, even the development of Ajit with him, and Winton being a good babysitter in general, and then Ajit becoming a good babysitter too. Yeah, man, just absolutely loved it. Loved the way that they did that. Just having some good vibed episodes with it too. Really, really enjoy that. I love how they're having the seriousness happen with it too, but also some fun with the episodes as well. I really, really enjoy that. And then there was another episode where, Leah wanted to find out more about Ajit and his golden Bakugan, and then Ajit's just I found them in a ruin somewhere. and he was actually on guard duty, like at a museum. So there was a kid that looked up to Ajit as being a phantom thief, but then Ajit faced the kid and beat him, and then he actually turned to good. He's like, you know, there's more to life than just being a phantom thief, and that's what the Brawlers made me realize. And Leo was there, like, with Ajit when he had that battle, and then the kid introduced himself, and then you know, him and Ajit became friends because he always looked up to Ajit and Storm, but realizing that Ajit quit, you know, but after that became good friends. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that kid more towards the very end of this series too, at the very end of the season. And then after that, getting into like kind of the next part, like the build up to the crazy arc, like the crazy final arc they're definitely building up to. So then like the next episode being where like they ask Ajit questions about how he got the golden Bakugan, and he's like, I don't know, I was just in some ruins and I happened to find them. And then Benton gets a hold of the Brawlers and says that like there's some funny activity coming from like this pyramid. This pyramid's one of the ways that you get into the maze. The maze obviously being the connection between Vestroya and the real world because they've merged, you know, but the maze being that connection in the parts of Vestroya. And then the Brawlers actually travel there because they have it where they can open a gate wherever, and then they go into the maze. So Sophie and the others happen to be in the maze, and then they run into, you know, the Brawlers. The Brawlers show up there, and literally they're right next to them eating. And it was kind of funny because they actually were kind of like, they had the same like kind of interactions and demeanors that the Brawlers did, except just being evil characters, which was kind of cool. It made me want to like them, but also like, you know, because just their demeanors and their evil. Like, they kind of have good motives, I guess, kind of, like, mainly Sophie being the one with kind of the good motives, Everett just being out of malice, and then also same thing with Storm, and then the other guy, too, wants to take down the Kazami family, but, you know, at least you kind of want to like them, but also just know they're still really, really evil, but, yeah. But then sure enough, they have some brawls, and they're all sitting there brawling one another. You know, they all have their fusion Bakugan, but in the middle of it, there's this big, giant, glowing point that shows up, and then they all sink into it. And then they're all in, like, different areas. It definitely seems like they're all in different areas. So, this is, like, the very last episode for the current moment. You know, because they're looking for Golden Bakugan. The evil characters looking for the Golden Bakugan, and then the Brawlers are trying to stop them, but then they all sunk down with this, and it definitely seems like they all got separated. They all got separated into different points. So when they sink down, Lightning and Winton are together, so it definitely seems like they got separated, but Lightning and Winton are together, and once they sink down to this part, I really like how they did this. They actually started to age big time. So Winton was an old grandpa, and Lightning was a real old doggone, you know. So they got way older, and it contradicts and is the opposite of what they did during the first season, and it even pays homage to what they did then. I love all the homage they're paying and how much they're tying the story together. So instead of them being younger, like, remember when they went and they actually, like, found Tico and such when they were getting really, really young during that? Because that's what they did during in the maze before, part of the maze. It made them young kids, like babies. But this made them older, like grandpas and such, you know, like the elderly. So that was really, really cool how they did that. You know, played on both sides of the spectrum, not just being young kids in the first season, but the second season going back into the maze and then being the older side of the spectrum, which that was really, really cool seeing. And then all their Bakugan, of course, like trying to help them out because they were older and couldn't move around as much. And then they found two Arliss Bakugan. One of them opened, and one of them, their name is Zealous. So an Arliss Bakugan named Zealous. At first I was like, man, they're putting in a Bakugan that they're not gonna release into an actual figure. Why? No, don't do that. Please, Spin Master. Please, for the love of Lord. That was my first impression. But then as it went along, realizing something. So, you know, Zealous not being strong enough to really, really fight. And then Sophie showed up with her Bakugan. She was also really old, because, you know, that's what happened to everybody. And then rolled out her Bakugan. And then, like, their actual, like, heated, like, brawling spirits made it where Zealous got power. Like, big-time power. And then we got a fusion because Winston was being smart and moved around and then made it where her Bakugan stomped on the floor and then actually made the floor cave in and got stuck. And then Zealous saw the heated spirit of Winston because Winston was like, I might be old, but we're still the awesome brawlers and we're still going to care about the Bakugan. And then Zealous was like, whoa, they're heated spirits. I can feel it. And then the power really started to resonate and generate. And then we start to see fusions with Arliss Bakugan. So we've seen the fusions with all the different factions before this, or at least like different factions, you know, and like obviously not all the different typings that could be done with it. But all of them except for Arliss. We get it now. And then it's Trox. At first I was like, Trox X Zealous? But then the figure itself, realizing it, and also to see the figure, the actual sprite for Zealous. Zealous is actually a Nobilius. So Zealous is basically Arliss Nobilius, just a different name. So we are getting Zealous, you know. So we did get Zealous, you know, just Arliss Nobilius. So if you could find the Arliss Nobilius, that's Zealous, you know, just having a different name with Zealous. I had a brain fart for a second, but then like Trox X Nobilius or Trox X Zealous, you know, fought together and managed to take out her fusion Bakugan. And then Winston's like, yeah, we beat you, young lady. And then she went off, and then, you know, Zealous thanked them and said, like, I am entrusting Etris to you. Like, Etris is the other Bakugan. So there's Zealous and Etris. So I'm guessing Etris is going to have a code name for another Bakugan that we've probably seen before. Since Zealous was Nobilius, Etris, just because of the figures, I wouldn't be surprised if Etris is like a Serpentese. It would make the most sense because we do have Howlcore X Serpentese a lot, and the Serpentese is Arliss. So if they have it where Etris, I think that's the name of it, Etris, is you know, as a Serpentese, like an Arliss Serpentese, will make perfect sense, you know, because we've seen that faction fusion. And then during time, probably more Golden Bakugan getting involved because the motive is finding some Golden Bakugan, and it sets the stage for things. This is the very last episode, and this is how it ended. Well, the very last episode for now. You know, obviously they're going to put out more episodes, but obviously this is kind of the speculation part right now. And that being that, like, there's fusions with, like, that we got in real life with, like, Trino, with Goreen, you know, and also Pyravia. So I'm guessing, like, the Great Council is going to awaken. That being mainly Trino. We're going to see Trino awaken. It'll probably be way later when we see Trino awaken, but definitely want to see that Trino come back in the mix, because Trino tried to help them out the first time with Tico and the V-Virus, but then went into slumber, and now could exit slumber with this season, because I really want to see like the good things happen with Trino, and then doing that where Trino finally awakens from the slumber and helps out with the fight, because the evils are going to get stronger, you know. So, yeah, it's going to be really, really awesome to see, man. So Trino, and then also like with Goreen, there's Pegatrix X Goreen, so you could see like the Great Council getting involved with them. Hydrus combining with Trino, Pegatrix combining with Goreen. There's one missing from that, and everybody knows what that one is, and that's Tico. Spin Master, please, if you're not gonna make Tico into an actual figure, which I pray to the Lord they do. I pray you do the Spin Master, is make Tico into an actual figure, but if not, and you're not going to make Tico into an actual figure, at least make it into a fusion figure. That way we get some part of Tico, like, you know, like even if it's like Drago X Tico or somebody, you know, like somebody joining with Tico and making that into an actual figure. That way we get Tico, because we have gotten that with Apollyon, you know. I forgot who combined with Apollyon, but they do have a fusion with Apollyon, you know, and glad to see that. Definitely glad to see that. So we at least got kind of homage with Apollyon. So we definitely need that with Artulian. I want to see a fusion with Artulian, even if it's like Artulian X Tico. That would be a really sick one, for sure. But definitely want to see Artulian get a real figure and Tico get one as well. If not, like fusions for the two of them, like what they did with Apollyon. I'd be even happy with that, you know, because Tico's too awesome with Bakugan. Like I said, it's one of my favorites from the first season. I still really want to see it get a figure in real life and to come back in the show, because imagine that powerhouse being involved with all of this. But the big part being Sabra Pyravia and the figure we've seen in real life, definitely makes sense to looking for a Golden Bakugan. Havoc comes back with a vengeance, trying to get payback on them, and he's just waiting for that point where they get to the very center of the maze, like, you know, where the Golden Bakugan are, where the Great Council is, and Pyravian emerges, and then Havoc works his magic, his brainwashing magic, and he manages to brainwash Pyravian. And at the same time takes the data from the Brawlers, takes the data from Magnus, takes the data from everybody that wronged him, and creates one very strong, powerful Bakugan. That being Sabra. Because Sabra is basically the twin of Nilius without having no freaking wings on it. You know, it basically is. And I could definitely see it where he's like, okay, I'm taking the data from Drago and also from Magnus. And, you know, like Nilius and then other strong Bakugan, and making the strongest Bakugan possible so I can get revenge on everyone who wronged me. Because now I'm mad. I'm not playing games anymore. Now I'm doing things out of malice. And Havoc's even mad right now. So Havoc being angry would go that far. And then having that combination, that's the big setup right there. He finds the Golden Bakugan, achieves that goal, and then we get the monstrosity, the epic looking, but crazy chaotic looking monstrosity known as Sabra X Pyravian, or Sabra X Arliss, they'll probably call it in the show. That's going to be an unstoppable Bakugan. That's going to be a Bakugan where it's like, holy crap, what are we supposed to do? How are we going to stop it? Even if we attack it with, like, Fusion Bakugan, even if we attack it with Bakugan that are fused with Bakugan from the Great Council, how are we going to stop it? Or maybe it's the Great Council putting their power and trust into these brawlers. And that's how they managed to beat Sabra X Pyravian at the end and truly thwart Havoc's plans. Because if he's taking control of Pyravian, they're going to need the Great Council, the remainder of the Great Council, like literally all of them, on top of whoever else, in order to stop Havoc with his Sabra X Pyravian. Because he won't even need the help of Sophie or anybody else. And maybe then they'll turn and they'll actually become good characters, because I kind of want to like them. You know, it's like how the other characters were in the first season. The evil characters, they ended up being good. Well, most of them ended up being good. You know, most of them. That's why I say most of them. Not all of them, but most of them ended up being good and then joining in on the fight. But Tico was so strong that even them, like, all fighting together wasn't enough. But that being this case now, Sabra X Pyravian being so strong where nobody could stop them. And then it's the Great Council's duty to help out the awesome brawlers. And then that's how we get Pegatrix X Goreen, how we get Hydrus X Trino, how we get maybe Tico joining in, which I really, really want to see that still. A combo with Tico, like, you know, a fusion with Tico in it. But also Drago X Auxiliator. Definitely see that one, man. And then Feral, one with Feral too. Feral was with Gillator, so maybe it's like Pegatrix goes down or something, and then or like instead of like, yeah, Pegatrix fusion with Goreen, and then because of that, Gillator not needing to be fused with Pegatrix anymore, and then goes to Feral, and then it's like Ajit combining with, you know, Ajit's Feral combining with Gillator, and that's how we get Feral X Gillator, and that's how we get the final showdown big time, where Ajit's joined in with the Brawlers, and he's truly one of the Brawlers, and they're all fighting to take out Havoc with Sabra X Pyravian, so they could save Pyravian, and they can stop Sabra, and they could stop Havoc. So, yeah, could definitely see the season going that route, and that being how it really ends with this. So, yeah, man. The main things I just want to see with it, like I said, seeing like Artulian, seeing Tico, and seeing some of the Bakugan that we haven't really seen get actual ball forms, even get like some kind of fusion, you know, like what they did with Apollyon, because I'm definitely happy with how they did that, because at least we got some homage with Apollyon, because, you know, Apollyon being part of the fusion. So, yeah, even if they did that with like Artulian and Tico, I wouldn't be mad, I wouldn't be upset. So, yeah, and honestly, maybe even release some of those other Bakugan that got scrapped during the last wave of the last, of the last season during Battle Planet. Like I said, the random boxes, like the deck boxes, I'm really praying that they put out that last wave that didn't really get released in those deck boxes, because I personally would want to see a Pyrus Webm. I like Webm a lot, and I always wanted to use Webm in Pyrus because it has a Fury effect. Like, the actual card for it has a Fury effect. It can be used for a Fury deck and just the other Bakugan too. Diamond Kellyanne, I'm looking at you. But yeah, man. Anyways, no, it was a longer discussion video, but with all the episodes and such, had to do the wrap up of what happened with the episodes, my personal opinion on how things might go with this, which I could definitely see it going down this route, and then wrapping up in this way. But the way that it's going to get dark, and it's going to get really, really devastating, especially with how menacing Saber X Pyravian looks, and imagining all that power, dude. That definitely has the power of all the different factions with it, because Arliss with it, like, Havoc taking the data of everybody else, you know, having that with his own Bakugan, and then mixing that with Pyravian's power and having access to all of the different factions with Pyravian being an Arliss Bakugan, because Arliss Bakugan have influence over everything, would be wild, man. Would be really, really crazy to see that. So, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it big time. Can't wait to see how they're gonna resolve this season. You know, we got now 15 episodes left. Well, technically 30, but 15 episodes left, and it's going to be crazy to see how they're going to do it. They're probably going to drop more episodes at the end of October, then maybe some more in the middle of November, then some more at the end of November, then a few in December. So, you know, then we get the build up for the next season. Season 3 on the horizon, man, but can't wait to see how they're going to resolve Season 2, because we've gotten some amazing stuff with it for sure. But, yeah, can't wait to see what other homage they're going to be paying. I mean, what are some of the things they had? I mean, they paid homage with Season 1, obviously with like Battle Plan and such with the cores, and then obviously bringing that out further with the Ultras, paying homage to kind of Subterra with Arliss, paying homage to even like Fusion Bakugan, which we saw a big time amount of during Season 4, you know, of like the first era Bakugan. Then that would leave like what, traps? Yeah, could see them doing that for the next one, you know, like the trap Bakugan, plus like the speculation of like, what's the name? I guess, well, it's not fully confirmed, but the name Geogon floating around. Maybe that would be like, I mean, Geogon, like Geo, like different shaped. Paying homage to the traps would make perfect sense. That's how they're paying homage to kind of Season 2 with those traps. But time's gonna tell, man. They're paying homage to literally the whole entire first era. And I love how they're doing so far, and how they're gonna do so with the remainder of, you know, this era of Bakugan. Season 3, I already know it's going to be epic, and Season 2, I really love what they're doing with it. So, yeah, keep it up, Spin Master. Main thing is just obviously those Bakugan getting made, and the cards. You know, like cards, big time, but I have a feeling we're going to be seeing some stuff with those cards really, really soon. So hopefully the card support gets rolling big time, because that's the main thing that's needed big time, especially for people internationally, you know. But yeah, as for the figures, you know, international, like I said before, international distribution does take time. So, you know, the fact that figures are going out is great. You know, people are finding some Season 2 stuff abroad. That's really, really awesome. Finding it internationally. But the main thing is the cards, you know, so people can play the pro way of playing the game. So getting those cards out is totally key. But we all know that. I'm just saying it here now, you know. Spin Master, love you. You already know this. Big time. Big time for life. Please get those cards out. But yeah, guys. Anyways, that is it for this discussion video. Definitely a longer one. I mean, this one's going on for like, what, almost 40 minutes? I know there's a lot of stuff that just had to talk about and such with the show. But it was absolutely awesome, man. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to slice that like button down below. Let me know how I did. If you're new to my channel, definitely be sure to subscribe for some epic content, because I upload daily. And if you haven't already, be sure to ring that bell by my channel name to be notified whenever I upload a video. And also, be on the lookout for things, you know, invitational wise, because, you know, going to be a part of it. Like I mentioned before, going to be a part of it. It takes place in the middle of November, 14th to 15th. Really, really hype. Still honored, still shook. But yeah, man. Till then, it's your boy Kimbo signing off. See you guys later. Thanks so much for watching. Until then, stay awesome. And the Bakugan brawl. I'm up out of here. Also, my tongue is, I just realized that. My tongue's blue. I ate a warhead before I started recording. That's what, like, I just noticed that. I was like, what? But yeah, I ate a warhead. Warhead candy, like sour candies and such. I ate a blue raspberry one before I actually started filming, and I made my tongue blue. But, you know, it's all good. Anyways, stay awesome and Bakugan brawl. I'm up out of here.